Joan of Arc was born around 1412 in the village of Domremy in northeastern France. She was the daughter of poor tenant farmer Jacques d'Arc and his wife Isabel. It was here in this poor farm where she was able to learn domestic skills and care for animals without traveling far from home. She was not taught to read or write, but her religious mother insisted she develop a deep love for the Catholic Church and its teachings. In 1450, King Henry V of England invaded northern France. After delivering a defeat to the French forces, England gained the support of the Burgundians in France. In 1420, the Treaty of Troyes had granted the French throne to Henry V as regent for King Charles VI. Henry would then inherit the throne after Charles' death. However, in 1422, both Henry and Charles died within a couple of months of each other, leaving Henry's infant son as a king of both realms. The French supporters of Charles' son sensed it was the perfect opportunity to return the crown to the French monarch. It was then around this time when Joan of Arc began to have visions of leading a religious life and contacted Robert de Baudricourt, the commander and supporter of King Charles. However, she was denied an audience after Baudricourt saw that she was gaining support from the villagers. It wasn't until 1429 when he finally gave in and gave Joan of Arc a horse and several soldiers. After Charles finally believed that she only meant piety, chastity, and humility, he finally gave the 17-year-old armor and a horse, with permission to accompany the army to the Battle of Orleans. In the year of 1430, after their victory in the Battle of Orleans, Joan of Arc was thrown off her horse by the Burgundians and captured for several months until they exchanged her for 10,000 francs. King Charles VII was unsure what he was to do with her. He was not convinced enough of Joan's divine inspiration, so he distanced himself and made no attempt to release her. Though Joan's actions were against the English occupation army, she was turned over to church officials who insisted she be tried as a heretic. She was charged with 70 counts, including witchcraft, heresy, and dressing like a man. Initially, the trial was held in public, but it went private when Joan of Arc battered her accusers. Between February 21st and March 24th, 1431, she was interrogated nearly a dozen times by the tribunal, always keeping her humility and claim of innocence. Instead of being held in a church prison with nuns as guards, she was held in a military prison. Joan was threatened with rape and torture. She protected herself by tying her soldier's clothes tightly together with dozens of cords. Frustrated that they could not break her, the tribunal eventually used her military clothes against her and began to charge her that she dressed like a man. It was approximately a year later when she was finally found guilty of heresy, when she was taken to be burned at stake in front of an estimated crowd of 10,000 people. She was only 19 years old at the time. After Joan's death, the Hundred-Year War continued for another 22 years, and King Charles VII ultimately retained his crown, and he ordered an investigation that in 1456 declared Joan of Arc to be officially innocent of all charges and designated for martyr. She was canonized as a saint on May 16, 1920, and is now the patron saint of France. Joan of Arc served as a symbol for inspiration for many generations to come. She was only a peasant girl who believed that God had chosen her to lead France to victory against its war with England. With no military training, Joan was able to convince Prince Charles to allow her to lead a French army to the city of Orleans, where they were able to achieve a victory over the English and the Burgundians, their French allies. Soon after the prince was crowned to be King Charles VII, Joan was captured by the Burgundians, tried for witchcraft and heresy, and ultimately burned at stake in 1431 at the age of 19. By the time she was officially canonized in 1920 as the Maid of Orleans, She had already long been considered one of the history's greatest saints and an enduring symbol of French unity and nationalism.